Just over an hour left. So, I'd like to welcome you all, first of all, and we'll start tonight's celebratory reading. Let's have a look here. We've got Andrew Diamond. Andrew from Good Maze Writers, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, just one for now. We'll see if we get
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
This is called May Day. Once she was Theresa May, now she's Theresa Might. Mightier than yesterday and spoiling for a fight. With Davis, Hammond, Hunt and Rudd, she'll take us into Brexit, while Donald Tusk and Donald Trump will sit back as she wrecks it. She'll continue pay restraints where our inflation rises and families stay homeless in our constant housing crisis. And when it comes to childcare costs, she'll stop our free school meals, while travel costs are going up, along with other bills. And she won't stop the budget cuts in schools or in the police, despite the need to generate a formula for peace. She'll terrify the elderly, or claim that she is cruel by making them all freeze to death without their winter fuel. She'll claim it's fair that social care is paid for from the grave, providing an incentive for the elderly to save. We'll have no wealth for national health, which will be privatised. No immigrants to care for us, so everybody dies. But there'll be lots of grammar schools to give us education. The kids will all learn Latin, which will really help the nation. So what is the alternative? It seems the only remedy is to vote for Jeremy, who is Theresa's enemy. He'll promise us utopia, for which we cannot pay. So, on June the 8th, I'll vote to keep Theresa May. Or maybe not.
If I'd known that was going to be as uplifting and positive. And that's one thing I like about Andrew, he does like to sit on the fence. Right, well done Andrew, that was definitely stimulating if nothing else.
Yes.
Right, I'd like to invite somebody to first time to one of our gatherings, and it's been really nice to have you at one of my workshops. Ladies and gentlemen, Katie Wilson from Stevenage Survivors.
Hi, it's the first time I've ever done anything like this, so you have to bear with me, please. This one's called Take Me to a Place.
Okay.
Take me to a place where nobody knows, where there's no dark clouds, and the rain washes away my pain and nourishes my spirit like an ever-flowing fountain, and the sunshine makes you smile, and everyone who is there is full of love and gentleness. Take me home to my resting place, where I can lay down on my hands, and the blisters on my feet where I've walked a million miles in search of freedom, are massaged by the rays of the sun. And the sadness that I carry is bottled up and thrown away, never to return. And my mind is at peace, and feels like it's walking on the beach, and the waves trickle over my nickelous thoughts, and my bad memories washing them away, and they sink into sand and are gone forever. Take me to a place where nobody judges each other, and I can reach up and touch the moon, and it regenerates my tired limbs. And the slurp of the incoming sea takes me to heaven and back. Take me to a place where the stillness is so loud that it feels like an electric current, and all I need to do is reach my hands into the air to feel flooded by the peace, and it overwhelms me. Take me to a place where nobody hates or kills each other, and the fields are made of smiles and laughter. Take me to a place where nobody has heard of the word war. Take me to a place where the flowers smell of happiness and joy, a place where the air that you breathe is love itself, and makes you intoxicated and giddy with hope. Take me to a world where bitterness slips off the edge like the wedge of butter. Take me to a place where evil people go through a machine like a car wash and come out the other end perfect and healed. Take me to a place like this.
Well, that was some performance there for a first timer. Crikey, I wish I'd done as well as that on the first time I got up. Well done, and thank you very much. Right now, surely there's a guy sitting over there. He comes here year in, year out. He's always good value for a laugh. Surely it's got to be Dave Chambers.
Unusually, I actually wrote something today. So I thought it was my own workshop. I was running it, and there was only 3 of us there. And we were talking about poetry, and we were actually talking about Samuel Taylor Coleridge's Xanadu, and how it went, and how it got interrupted at the end. And I was writing, we just wrote a little bit, so it goes: circle of chairs and a creaky door, listen to the poetry, let's hear some more. Only if it's really great, with lots and lots of blood and gore, 'cause that's what we want to stage, let's write some more. Or can it tell another story of love or loneliness, or do we need all this gory? What's all that shit really for? But thoughts get interrupted. I claim affinity with Samuel Taylor Coleridge, person not from Porlock, from Syracuse, knocked on the door. Right? Right, so you made me famous. The second workshop was about Anita's workshop, and we started off after an introduction. She said 3 minutes to write something, so I wrote 3 minutes. Stephen somebody wrote a book called The First 3 Minutes, which attempted to describe what happened during the first 3 minutes after the Big Bang. Really, that was the start. The problem he described was that time started then as well, and we don't know if a minute was 60 seconds or if each second was different from the one before, like where I am now, because I was a bit confused in there. Then we had another bit which was about a character, and we were given a little piece of paper with lots of words written all round a circle sort of thing, and just use that. So I wrote, rambling along a country lane through a big chunk of meadowland, a bit too late for the dawn chorus, I could still hear the echo of the coo. Is it an echo? Sometimes sounds like it. Some as the bell, same as the bell ringing, the clangor hits one side, then the other side. Sounds like an echo to me. So when we finished that, we thought, take that character, whoever that character was, and write something about maybe a TV series or some kind of series for this character. So over the fence I see some cows. I don't often see cows, not in London. Used to see them on one-bed flats, but no more. Not since some schoolboys decided to do a John Wayne and herded them down Woodgrange Road. Shoppers really had a glass of fresh milk that day. No, they didn't. But enough memory lane. Back to the country lane. I walked slowly and safely over the level crossing, not really cutting it fine. It was I was a good 50 yards past before the train came. Anyway, she stumbled. "Take my hand." I said. She did, saying, "You need a haircut." "Oh, look, there's a fox." She pointed towards what I took to be an orchard. These orchards and country lane, that was in the circle of words. I kept picking them out. So, you know, that was another bit of the character. Sorry, the TV thing comes now. Out for a stroll in the countryside with his companion. We don't yet know what the relationship is, brackets, because I don't. Could be wife, mother, daughter, cousin, girlfriend, illicit paramour, colleague, minder, or anything else you can think of. Maybe that's it. The walk is the same, but at different times, different seasons, different weather. The real star is the country lane. Everything else changes, including the guy, because sometimes the companion stays. Progress doesn't just happen to people, it also happens to places, from a country lane to perhaps a caged-in walkway between an industrial estate and a motorway passing under a railway bridge. Milton Keynes, anybody?
Well, thank you, Dave. It's nice actually to get a bit of feedback from and some writing from some of the workshops that have actually been performed today, because one of the things we used to get a lot of time for was being able to go around and talk about the workshops that we've done during the day. It doesn't look like it's going to happen this year for one reason or another, but anyway, thanks for that, Dave. That all adds a bit of flavour to what's actually happened in these walls today. Right, well, next, another one from Stevenage survivors, Michael Bungay.
Yes, the theme of this piece probably isn't appropriate for this time of year because I wrote it just before last Christmas. Anyway, reflections. One winter's evening, a young man sits in a corner of a lounge, a bookcase on his left, a sofa to his right. In his arms he cradles a little girl who is gradually falling fast asleep as books and toys litter the floor around her. As the girl sleeps, the young man reflects on the past year's events. He doesn't want to, though, as he's been encouraged and then rejected by his local college and major newspaper, and even by some of his closest supporters. His family have been deprived in several ways such as not being able to drive. Needless to say, he's glad to see the back of the past year. He's especially glad that Christmas is around the corner and really looking forward to it. At this point, At this point, he reflects again on how some people at Christmas aren't so lucky as to have a home and a large, closely knit family. He knows some people have to rely on hostels and community centres for food, shelter and even company. He looks at the sleeping child in his arms and reflects on how lucky she is to be there. And some people don't even have a bed to sleep in, let alone a home or family at Christmas or indeed ever. He feels both happy and sad that this little girl has trusted him to read to her and cradle her as tiredness creeps up on her. He holds her tight, but not too tight, as her hair warms his cheek. She is only extended family to him, but she represents a ray of hope to him, a reason not to give up, a reason to get back up whenever he is down. He reflects on how lucky he and this girl are to have each other. And how we're going to have many a wonderful Christmas and New Year for years to come. That wasn't just a piece, that was quite literally my heart. Heart you just heard me pouring out.
Well done, Michael. Yes, well done. Slight technical hitch. No, that's really good. I mean, it's lovely. We've always, that's one thing I've always loved about TheFED, is that we have a brilliant way of listening to everybody. Everybody gets up, everybody gets a nice reception, and the quality of listening here has always been amazing, and it's very, very nice when people feel like Michael able to share something, you know, really kind of quite personal with all of us. So well done, Michael, and thank you everyone for listening. Right, well, I'm going to bring another lady who's new to the FED this year. Had a really nice workshop that I attended with hers this afternoon from the Buxton Fringe Group. Ladies and gentlemen, Letitia.
Lovely to be here and meet you all. It's been great. I'm going to read a poem that I brought with me. Unfortunately, I brought it with me in my own handwriting, so it's really a bad idea, but I'll give it a go. And it's called Bound. Sift me, separate, pull me apart. I will still find you. You think me defeated, see me no more, yet when you relax, I will break through. Haunt the back of your dreams, the disquiet is loud. Come time for you to bloom, I'll let you unfold. Then as you smile, I'll creep up, slow. Wind my way and strangle your new growth. You'll not be free of me, but try. I like a challenge, and I can wait. Subtitled Bindweed.
Lovely and atmospheric, very, very, very atmospheric. And talking about atmospheres, there's one lady here that can create an atmosphere that, luckily at the FED, we've been able to enjoy for lots of years, and hopefully will for lots more. Lucia, will you give us a song, please?
Yes.
Have you ever known those people that get on the bus and then they start going through for that change? And
I haven't sung this song for a long time. It's a Buffy Sainte-Marie song, and I think possibly one of the things which inspired me to want to say something, sing something, was the things that happened in Manchester recently. And so this was written well over 50 years ago. So the names you can, the words and the names are very different from the ones we hear today. But the essential essence of it is sadly the same. He's 5'2" and he's 6'4". He fights with missiles and with spears. He's all of 21 and he's only 17. Been a soldier for 1,000 years. And he's a Catholic, a Hindu, an atheist, a Jain, a Buddhist and a Baptist and a Jew. And he knows he shouldn't kill, and he knows he always will kill you for me, my friend, and me for you. And he's fighting for Canada, he's fighting for France, he's fighting for the USA. And he's fighting for the Russians, and he's fighting for Japan. And he thinks we'll put an end to war this way. And he's fighting for democracy, fighting for the Reds. He says it's for the peace of all. He's the one who must decide who's to live and who's to die. And he never sees the writing But without him, how would Hitler have condemned him at Dachau? Without him, Caesar would have stood alone. He's the one who gives his body as a weapon. All this killing can't go on. He's the universal soldier, and he really is to blame. His orders come from far away no more. They come from here and there, and you and me, and brothers, can't you see? This is not the way we put the end to war. That was Buffy Summer. No.
Find real-time favourite songs.
Yeah, I must admit, I only know that song by Donovan, but
Bits of it.
it's a very powerful song, very poignant, especially at the moment. Well, somebody who always comes up with some really thought-provoking stuff is one of my friends from Hastings. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Doherty.
Right, I've got a new book out which is down here, and I'm going to read 2 poems from the book. You can see under these lights. Right, the first one is called Function. Every visit to the Kelvin Grove Museum, I would head straight for 2 things. One was the Japanese spider crab Macrochiera kempferi, big enough to put me off swimming in the ocean. The other was the little brass model of a steam engine, analogue of James Watt's role in the Industrial Revolution, Mammoth mining mammon endlessly, its glass case sealing it off as heritage. Fired up by thumbing a big button like the delayed action light switch in bedsit hallways, it woke the model from its dream of mines to demonstrate its single function in life, performed to perfection silently, then stopped. No 3-shift system in this shop. No matter how often I approached and pressed the button, it never did anything more or anything different. I never heard reports or rumours of anyone getting this little machine to behave differently. Visitors and staff had the satisfaction of seeing it perform faultlessly every time, and some of us might have suspected that this could be a preview of our working lives, to stand in front of a machine or assembly line, punch a button over and over again, watch the same outcome over and over. And the other one is one of my many poems set either in San Francisco or California. My manzanita tree is waiting for me in the Sierra Nevada foothills up on the San Juan Ridge. I have never seen it, not even a photograph or on a postcard, but I know it is there, waiting patiently for me to show up one day, probably in April or October, but maybe August, when fires break out spontaneously and renew the landscape. And if this happens when I am not there to beat out the flames with a blanket, or dig a fire break to save my very own tree, I will have to trust in God, luck, or the Buddha nature that the hill it adorns will be left untouched. Firefighters will not trample or cut it down, so that I can get to know my manzanita and everything else around it, even the other fire-prone plants like Scotch broom or conifer. My horoscope promised me good fortune. Green is the colour of luck, but a green card is too much to expect. A realtor in Nevada City advertising wilderness plots for self-builders, is waiting for my call. He has a crack team of Vietnam vets and recycled hippies on standby to handcraft the eco-house of my dreams. He will drive me out there in his 4x4, stop, overlooking the view I have dreamt of for 40 years. Here we are, sir. Who could want to live anywhere else? Now, what will you call your house? Manzanita. What else? Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Right, well, another lady that's been coming to these meetings for a number of years and always likes to do a little something in the celebratory reading is our lady at the back there, Sylvie from Stevenage Writers.
Sweet. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Let's take these off. Bitter the sweet that falls, and as apples to the glen, mushrooms in the night's veil, hidden till next morning tide. Toadstools risen from the dead, in fairy dreams made of rings, dance night long, sing their songs from distant lands where we belong.
Amazing. It never ceases to amaze me the variety of different subjects and things. I kind of knew we were going to get a few political ones this year, but it's nice that we're getting some other variety as well. And talking of variety, we've got a lady here that hasn't been to any of these meetings for a long while, and also from a writers group that used to be part of the FED for many years, but sadly is no longer with us. But Liz Thompson from Basement Writers, now an independent. Liz Thompson.
Reference to my short-ass status, the equipment needs adjusting. This is the result of a workshop I went to this afternoon entitled You Couldn't Make It Up, John Malcolmson's workshop. And we all had to think about a completely lunatic scenario that couldn't possibly happen. And I came up with this, which is, I'm afraid, very political. Consultancy to advise on tax avoidance takes on the possibility of weird tax initiatives being invented on the part of government advisors as the country struggles to balance the books. Their listing of possible worst-case scenarios is hijacked by a particularly venomous government think tank headed by someone who wants to get back to basics in a very medievalist way. One of the items is the reintroduction of the window tax, abolished in the, 1850s, and possibly ripe for a revival. Unintended consequences follow. I'll try and get this in the right order. You may have thought the bedroom tax was unjust and one of the most nitpicking items of nastiness since the poll tax. But how about this, folks? Bring back the window tax. Yeah, tremble in your Gucci loafers, all you trendy architects and owners of designer glass boxes. Your glory days are over. They found a way at last to stick a wodge of wedge on top of corporation tax. Yes. Big fancy office building? Pay up, you bastards, HMRC, coming to get ya. I bet Jeremy Corbyn wishes he'd thought of this one, but he didn't. I did, as I sit in my little cottage with teeny tiny peephole 17th century bottle glass windows from when glass was really a pricey luxury. I'm laughing, but you won't be, so long as no one comes up with a half tax next. And the next bit is the law of unintended consequences. On top of Brexit and the problems with passporting of financial products, banks and corporations threatened with massive payouts on their glass towers with the new window tax are leaving the City of London in droves and going in for dugouts in Scotland if they don't want to move to Frankfurt and other places of financial worship. Nicola Sturgeon has introduced tax breaks under Scottish law for anyone prepared to leech as much as possible out of the viability of the City of London in revenge. Where might this go? The City of London does a mass demolition job and rebuilds on the pre-Fire of London model with tiny little windows, and there's all the staff squinting away at computer screens they can barely see unless the firm wants to run up enormous electric bills. Somebody starts up a candle factory by way of entrepreneurial inspiration, and before you know it, candle lamps with reflectors are the big must-have for the office. It means you have to switch off the smoke alarms though, because they're oversensitive to the presence of the candles. And guess what happened next? Fire insurance? What's that? It's become unaffordable because of the increased risks.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's really nice to. We're obviously missing the input from basement writers. I've often thought about taxes, and I've thought that the most unfair tax that anybody could ever invent would be a birth tax. And what a lot of people don't know is, of course, that the idea of tax breaks actually originated in London, and it wasn't in the Houses of Parliament. It was originally invented by the Crays. You know, I mean, basically, you didn't pay your taxes, they break your legs. Right now, silliness aside, let's have a bit of common sense from Mr. Paul Evans from Stevenage Survivors.
Is everybody in? Okay. Welcome to my world. This was a workshop done by Letitia, and this is what I wrote. Can you all see the card? It looks very nice, doesn't it?
I can see the card, but I can't see what's on it.
Okay. It's a beautiful sunny resort on the Costa del Sol, with lots of pretty buildings, lots of promenades, and lots of fancy walkways.
What's it called?
Furingarola. Okay. Daytime sun split between beach sea and roadside tower blocks, paved in majestic architectural prominence, luxurious to the eye, said, and creative of feeling. A sun-soaked space embroidered in palm trees. I've lost my place now. Nice one. Creative of feeling, of space, with palm trees all around and a glorious skyline. However, a lack of activity, no people, not much enjoyment, not really much fun either. Just a lazy day of idleness set in the sun. That's my kind of paradise, I really like that. Now this one. What we did is take a small section and focused on the little area to the middle right of this card and describe what we see. This is what I said. Stuck between two dinosaurs, a scorched terrain overlooking a frozen mammoth crocodile. The sheer ferocity of climate unbalanced my stature between a rock and a polar cap. My instinct looks down to safer climes, albeit on a sharp ravine to warmer pastures. Now the last one. Given a minute to write this, it was the very first thing that we could possibly see. So I looked around, I saw something and I wrote about it. The net curtain drapes down, while the cable hangs, swinging gently to and fro, parallel to the outside wall, and the breeze moves gently through our window. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, just to give people a bit of context about that last piece that Paul wrote, it was at Letitia's workshop, and it was basically a workshop that was about how if you're writing, it's a good idea to try and give people a picture of the everyday things that we all see all of the time, and not just the extraordinary things. It's very easy to fall into a trap of kind of writing something and just concentrating solely on the extraordinary elements that are going on and leaving out all of the everyday details. And there was a very interesting workshop. We all got a lot from it, and obviously Paul got that last piece that he wrote there. Well, we're coming towards the end of our celebratory reading. We've got a few more people to go. Chantal, would you like to come up? Chantal O'Flattery from Stevenage Survivors, ladies and gentlemen.
Which one do you want to read? Which one did you do? That one. Do you want to... I don't like what Donald Trump says. Okay, go on. Do you want to do it from here? Or do you want to read up there?
Dear editor, I'm writing this letter about Donald Trump, who is the President of the USA. The letter's going to be a protest letter. I don't like what Donald Trump does to his women of the country. He can't read or write, as he's the leader of the USA at the moment, which was bad for England bad for England, who lives in England. Donald Trump gets publicity all over the news as well. I don't know much about him, but he is a bad person and not good. But he does lots of things for USA, which is good for repetition as well. He wears really long clothes. Donald Trump gets everyone to vote for him, even throughout what he does. He has everyone in his palm of his hand. Lots of people do protest about him. Donald Trump thinks everyone is believing, which is bad for him. He does nothing for other countries but his own country, which is the USA, which is totally bad. He does nothing for women's rights in the USA. Donald Trump focuses on politics, which is good and bad. He don't much things but how to run things. Donald Trump has a wife and kids who he cares more about than other people's well-being. Do more for education than other places. Donald Trump likes places better than other places. Donald Trump should be a good person. Donald Trump's a political leader, could help other people out in the USA. He hurts people, which is not good at all. He has white hair. He lives in Washington area of America. From Chantal O'Flattery.
Well done.
Well done, Chantal. Jean T, Jean T, ladies and gentlemen, from Newham Writers Workshop.
Thank you very much. This bit needs a bit of explanation. I suffer from Asperger's syndrome, which means that I sometimes tend to live in a world of my own and don't seem to consider other people but this bit, I think, probably more than anything else, it explains how you tend to live in a world of your own, even when you're little. One sultry August day, I saw a little footpath and followed it. My mother had been reading aloud to me about fairyland, and as I wandered down it, I expected to see little gnomes peeping out from between the bushes. Then I spotted a blackberry and reached up for it, scratching my hand on a bramble. Now I had blood as well as blackberry juice on my hands, but never mind, I wiped them down the front of my dress. Then I fell into a muddy puddle. I was thinking of A.A. Milne's lines. I've got boots with grown-up laces. I know lots of puddly places. Who's coming out with me? I could hear birdsong and insects droning as I wandered on. So there you are! Oh, you naughty girl! That dress was clean on today, and look at you now. You're getting a good smack when we get home. I got lots of smacks, but my parents' anger simply bewildered me. In fact, a tendency to wander away is associated with all forms of autism.
Very good.
Hey.
Thank you. Well, we're now nearly coming towards the end of our celebratory reading, but we could definitely never go through any of these events without John. John Malcolmson, ladies and gentlemen.
I was thinking of doing something slightly different from my usual stories, and so I spent several months working on a song I thought I could sing instead. However, after about 6 months of working on it, I realised that there was a couple of drawbacks. Firstly, that songs work better if the singer has some sense of rhythm, and secondly, they tend to go rather well if you can also sing in tune. At which point I thought that I'd look at another option, and I did find a song I thought I could use because it consists of complete monosyllables and it is reliant on entirely one note. And in order to make sure I got it in tune, I did go to the vast expense of acquiring a scacciapensiere in order to be able to keep this on the correct note. However, I then discovered that the scacciapensiere is not as easy to play as you might think. For those of you who've never seen a scacciapensiere in public, it's nothing to be afraid of. It does go by another name called a Jew's harp, and you put it against your teeth. They're not very expensive. You put them against your teeth, and you prang this little prong that sticks out. And they're cheap, and the maintenance costs are very small, apart from the cost of regular visits to the dentist. But I decided that perhaps I'd revert to what I normally do best, and that is to give you a story. Of course, the problem I have is that being so shy and retiring, I can find it a bit difficult. Well, yes, the thing is that I wasn't always quite as outgoing as I am today. At one time I was very shy and retiring, and this is actually based on Philip's workshop from this morning, though it does contain a certain amount of fiction, and I'm going to be very careful and not admit to what really happened and what I made up. The college annex had no common room, so all our students hung around in the corridor, forming only small groups to allow others to pass. My favourite spot was a windowsill from which I had a view of a small patch of garden. I could hardly help noticing the three rather pretty girls whose favourite spot was the other end of the same windowsill. I watched them longingly, but they never looked at me. Clearly, I had no chance. It was a couple of weeks into term that Anne, a girl who lived near me, came down the corridor and stopped to greet me. After chatting a bit, Anne
tilting her head towards the three girls, asked, "Have you thought about asking one of them out? I don't think they like me." "Why do you think that?" "They've never looked at me." "Of course they don't. You need to speak to them. Go on, ask one of them out." "I can't." "Why not?" "She might say no." "She can't say yes if you don't ask." "What if she says no?" "You're no worse off than if you hadn't asked, and in the unlikely event she does, you just ask one of the others." "They might all say no." "They won't, trust me." "How can you be so sure?" "Why do you think they always choose the same windowsill as you? It's got the best view. It's got the boy they all fancy." "Which boy's that?" You big dope." "Oh, but girls talk in the toilets. I'll let you in on a secret. They've got a bet on which of them you'll ask out first. £half each in the kitty, and whoever wins gets the 7 and 6. "Really? Are you sure?" "Of course." "But I don't even know their names." "The tall one's Tracy, the blonde one's Lucy, and the small one's Sarah. Go on, ask one of them. You've nothing to lose. Now, which one would you like to ask?" "Well, which one?" "I don't know." "Which one?" "You said the blonde one's Lucy. So ask Lucy." "I don't know." "Honestly." The bell for the end of break sounded. Anne turned away and started down the corridor. She paused very briefly as she passed the three girls. I followed her. As I was about to squeeze past, the blonde girl, Lucy, turned and I bumped into her. She dropped the folder she'd been clutching and the contents spilled out over the floor. "I'm sorry." We both said it at the same time. I crouched down to gather up the same. I reached towards her with a bundle of papers. She was leaning forwards and down her blouse I caught a glimpse of her bra. Then I realised she was looking at me and her hand was touching mine where we both clasped the papers. We paused, looking at each other. Rather quickly I blurted out, "Would you like to come to the pictures with me on Saturday?" "I'd love to." Lucy was smiling. I was so embarrassed that I immediately stood up. I started to walk down the corridor, but I paused and looked back towards Lucy. I could see the glum faces on Tracy and Sarah as Lucy flashed them a B for victory.
You'd never be able to work out the... I sometimes swear he's got an antenna that's recorded part of my life. Because my brother and I are totally different. I've always been a bit on the there side when it goes to with talking to girls. My brother was always completely the opposite. And I always remember a similar scenario to what John was just talking about once at a nightclub when my brother went up to there was 4 girls all sitting in a row. And he went up to the first one and he said, "Oh, would you like to dance?" And she turned him down. So he tapped the next girl on the shoulder. He said, "Would you like to dance?" And she turned him down. So he tapped the next girl on the shoulder and said, "Would you like to dance?" And she said, "No." So he tapped the last one on the shoulder and said, "Would you like to dance?" And to my absolute astonishment, she said yes. And I thought to myself, do they think of the psychology of this? It's a bit like going up to someone and saying, "Look, I think you're really wonderful. Would you like to dance?" And they said, "No." I said, "Well, not being funny, love, but you're not quite as nice as your friend, but do you fancy a dance?" "No." "Look, to be quite honest, love, I'm starting to get a bit desperate here. Would you like to dance?" "No." "For God's sake, my whole reputation's at stake here. Do you want to dance?" And she said, "Yes." I've never been able to believe that in my life. Anyway, it's been lovely to host another edition of our celebratory reading. It's been wonderful to meet you all again, and a safe journey home. One thing I'll just read you this poem of mine to finish off with, because we've all got a big decision to make next week, and I don't want to say anything about politics, but just to put it into your minds that we all have a responsibility about the way we treat other people, and this is what this poem's about. It's called "It's Who You Know." Faraway galaxies seduce me with the unknown. Twinkling stars reflect back hopes and dreams. Life on earth and ever constant. But what does that really mean? Striving to achieve my destiny, I feel as though I float sometimes. Interplanetary communication, upsetting navigation. We enter this world as we exit it, alone with our eyes shut. So vital then that while we are here, we find someone to love. It's not what you think that matters, nor what you say or do. It's how you treat fellow travellers, here and now with you. A universal cosmic karma searches for your satellite. Don't let the message you emit be one from which to take flight. For signals sent can be received many moons from now, returning off a meteor, lost in a dust cloud. It's not what you think you know, nor how you judge your worth. It's always been who you know, here upon this earth. Thank you and good night.